Marcus Chun stared at the severance package on his desk. 25 years reduced to a manila envelope and a polite handshake. At 50, he was supposed to feel devastated. Instead, he felt nothing. The numbness had started months ago, somewhere between his third ulcer and his daughter's college graduation, which he'd almost missed for a board meeting. The apartment was too quiet when he got home. Sarah had taken the kids to her mother's for the weekend, giving him space to process. He loosened his tie and walked to the window, looking down at the Chicago streets 20 floors below. Tiny people rushing toward important destinations. He'd been one of them once, urgent and purposeful. His phone buzzed. "Sarah, how are you holding up?" He didn't know how to answer, so he didn't. Instead, Marcus found himself in the spare bedroom they used for storage. Moving boxes aside, his hand brushed something dusty. His old easel, buried beneath tax returns and forgotten Christmas decorations. He pulled it out, remembering the young man who'd carried it into his first apartment, full of dreams about art school and exhibitions. That was before business school, before the practical choice. Before he learned to bury impractical things in the back of the closet. He found them. Tubes of oil paint, dried and cracked. Brushes with hardened bristles. Palette knife still crusted with cerulean blue. Evidence of a crime he'd committed against himself. The next morning, Marcus walked into an art supply store for the first time in 27 years. The smell of linseed oil and turpentine hit him like a memory made physical. A young clerk with purple hair and paint-stained fingers approached. "Can I help you find something?" "Everything," Marcus said. "I need everything." He spent $800 without blinking, the same amount he'd routinely dropped on business dinners he couldn't remember. Canvas, paints, brushes, mediums. The clerk's eyebrows raised at the premium sable brushes, but Marcus didn't care. If he was doing this, he was doing it right. At home, he set up the easel in the bedroom, then moved it to the living room for better light. He squeezed Naples yellow onto the new palette, and his hands remembered what his mind had forgotten. The first stroke felt like breathing after years underwater. He painted garbage. For weeks, he produced terrible, amateurish work. Stiff landscapes, muddy colors, proportions that would embarrass a high schooler. His technique had atrophied, his eye had dulled. Each painting was worse than the last. He kept going. Sarah returned home to find their living room transformed into a studio, drop cloths protecting the hardwood, the smell of paint replacing the usual scent of her vanilla candles. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "Marcus, what is this?" "I'm painting. I can see that. But I don't want to go back, Sarah. Not to another boardroom, another earnings call, another quarterly review. I can't." She looked at him for a long moment, then at the canvases lining the walls. "All bad, all honest." "Okay," she said quietly. "Okay." Marcus painted through the autumn. He took a class at the community college, sitting among 20-year-olds who called him Sir, and had never heard of the Fortune 500 company he'd devoted his life to. The instructor, a woman named Rosa with silver hair and hands gnarled by arthritis, critiqued his work brutally. "You're thinking too much," she said, tapping his latest attempt. "Corporate brain. You're trying to execute a plan. Paint doesn't care about your strategy. Then what does it care about? What you're feeling in the moment you mix the colors. What you see when you stop trying to see what you think should be there." He painted through winter, watching the light change on the frozen lake, learning to see again. His work was still clumsy, but something was emerging, a rawness, an honesty. He painted the view from his office window as he remembered it, gray and suffocating. He painted Sarah's hands, worn beautiful by decades. He painted the face of the man he'd been, trapped behind glass. His son visited in February and found him in the studio at 2 a.m., paint in his hair, working on a large canvas by lamplight. "Dad, you okay?" Marcus stepped back, looking at what he'd made. A figure dissolving into color, half-formed and luminous. "Yeah," he said, and meant it. "Yeah, I really am." In March, Rosa told him about a group show at a local gallery. Nothing fancy, just submit something. He almost didn't. The fear was familiar, of judgment, of failure, of being seen. But this time, the fear felt different. Smaller. He'd already lost everything he thought mattered. What was left to be afraid of? The opening was on a Thursday. Marcus stood beside his painting, Emergence, he'd titled it. Watching strangers lean in, step back, whisper to their companions. An older woman stood before it for 5 full minutes. She turned to him. "Did you paint this?" "Yes. It's extraordinary. So much courage in the brushwork." "How long have you been painting?" Marcus smiled. "My whole life. But I only started 6 months ago." She laughed, delighted, and moved on. Sarah squeezed his hand. The painting didn't sell. That was fine. He had 7 more at home, and the light was perfect in the mornings lately. He'd start another tomorrow, and another the day after that. He had time now, all the time he'd pretended he didn't have, stretching out before him like a clean canvas, waiting for the first brave stroke.